Welcome back. Well, markets at this point in time losing a little bit of ground actually. I was going to say flat, but now it's 1/3% lower, 0.3 lower for the Sensex and the Nifty and 0.3 up for the mid-cap. So in any case, it's largely in a very, very ranged terrain. So let's concentrate on something that's kind of putting a spanner in the works in the ongoing coal block auction process. We heard from the coal ministry secretary yesterday, Mr. Anil Swarup, that auction process of 8 blocks or auction results of 8 blocks are being reviewed. He didn't say more, but did say that the basis for the review is that some of the bids were outliers. On that note, let's call one of the persons who has been a big bidder in many of these auctions, Mr. Ravi Uppal, Managing Director and CEO of JSPL, joins us. Mr. Uppal, good morning to you. Have you heard from Anil Swarup or the government about any of the blocks you have won being up for review?
No, we have not had anything from the Ministry of Coal yet. We only know that in the recently held auction process, we were the most competitive bid for the 2 blocks, Gariparma 2 and 3, and the Tara block. But we have not heard anything from the government yet.
Okay, but in your own judgment, would some of the bids you put in qualify as outliers?
No, I don't know what is your definition of the outlier. I think we have gone through a bidding process which was very transparent, very fair. We have a huge respect for it, and I think in that bidding process, we were the most competitive bids. There are many blocks for which we quoted. We were not successful, but in these 2 blocks, our bids were the most competitive. So I do not know what's the concept of the outliers.
Okay. Mr. Uppal, good morning. But if the worst case scenario pans out and, the government does find some faults in the bids that were made for these Gariparma 4, 2 and 3 blocks, then what would the impact be on your own power business?
Well, I think this whole question is hypothetical at this point of time. I see absolutely no reason why we should not be awarded the 2 blocks for which we have been competitive. We have followed the process, and in government's own version, the process has been very transparent and fair. Therefore, the outcome of this should also be respected by all the agencies which are basically running the process. And I must tell you that the bids that we have put in, they were fiercely competitive. If you look at the ceiling prices which were stated by the government, they were way, way above compared to what the final outcome has been. And when you talk about the outliers, I don't know what the definition is. Each block is a different block, with regard to the total capacity, the status of the mine, the stripping ratio, the distance for transportation.
No, sir, I understand that.
It makes no sense.
I do understand that, but you still have to have a backup plan because there are, as we spoke to the secretary yesterday, he did mention that there are some outliers. Reports suggest that there is a probe being done for perhaps cartelization as well. If the adverse situation pans out, then which are the other blocks that you can bid for, and what is the impact that it would have on your power business?
But as of this moment, we have not thought about anything else because we are so convinced that the blocks that we have bid for, we are the rightful, successful bidders on that, and we should get that. And for me, it's a very, very, remote possibility that any deviation should, happen on that front. So, if anything happens, then we will have to see what the options are. But as of this point of time, we think that we deserve to be given these blocks, and we have gone through a process which was very transparent.
No, I agree the process was transparent, but I am assuming when Mr. Swarup said outlier, he is referring to the fact that 108 rupees per ton for and 126 per ton for Tara block was a little lower than the kind of bidding we saw in the other blocks.
Lata, I want to ask you a question. What is the purpose of this whole bidding process? I think in my mind, and as also stated by the government, the idea is to make sure all the projects which are running, that the coal must be made available to them on a fair basis. Idea is not a question of maximizing revenue to my mind, but idea is to make sure on a fair basis the coal mines are distributed among the bidders. And saying, well, some of them are the outliers, it makes no sense to me.
No,
but as I mentioned,
sir,
that
I'm not saying,
is different.
No, Mr. Uppal, I'm not saying anything. I'm just placing in front of you what Mr. Swaroop might say, because he used the word outlier, and he said that 8 blocks are going to be reviewed. I'm just looking at the two prices. Gare Palma, one of the bids was negative 940 rupees per ton, which you won, and the other one you won is negative just 108 rupees per ton. You will be probably confronted with this data. You will probably be confronted with this data.
Yes.
Therefore, what will your reaction be, and how do you see, therefore, the process going forward?
Let me state some facts for your information. If you look at the ceiling price fixed by the government for Gare Parma 2 and 3, it was 700 rupees plus, which basically means that if you bid anything more than 700, the offer is not valid. And the price which we finally which we quoted, and we became the most competitive bidder, was a minus 108. So look at the amount of climb down that we have done. 808 rupees we have come down. And when the documents were framed for auction at that time, government initially did not even think there's anything less than zero. And now we are coming into the negative zone. So where is the question of? We cannot comprehend.
No, sir, you climbed down for 940 negative for one. So you may be confronted with that, is my guess.
Yes.
And for one, you climbed down only to 108.
No, we haven't. If you look at the ceiling price for Gare Parma 2 and 3, the ceiling price fixed by government was 700, and for the Tara block it was 920.
Okay.
920. So we came down in case of Tara from 920 to minus 126, and in the case of Gare Parma 2 and 3 came from 700 to minus 108.
Okay.
So it's a huge climb down. Any price we finally quote, it must make business sense.
Yes, sir.
It's not
Fair
a question of just having one day celebration. We have to live with it for 25 years.
All right.
It must make economic sense. That is why we lost many other blocks. We lost them because we simply can't go beyond a point.
Sure, that point is taken, Mr. Uppal. Because of these bids that you've made and the profitability hit that the company will have to take compared to what the situation was, say, a couple of years ago, how does the company really plan to make up for it in terms of either, improvement in productivity, reduction in operating costs? If you can give us a game plan of, whether there is higher capacity utilization that we can expect from JSPL or perhaps merchant power sale at higher rates. What is the company's plan from here on?
Yes, actually, you have already laid out the various things that we are going to sort of focus on. JPL plants have been known for their efficiency. The plants have been running anywhere between 95 to 102% PLF, and the plants are considered to be among the best run plants in this country. We today have a total capacity of 3,500 megawatt of Jindal power, which is absolutely ready to go, and out of which, the 2,200 megawatt is already functioning. So what we intend to do, as you just mentioned, that we will increase the operational efficiency. We will make sure that the fuel costs and other things we keep it under check, and basically move more towards operational excellence, and also have the right mix of sale between what is covered under PPAs and under the merchant power. So all the options which are available to us, we are definitely going to look at them to make sure that we retain a reasonable level of the profitability for the business.
What is the merchant power sale rate that you are looking at this point? Will it be higher in the near future?
Well, the merchant rates are very fluctuating. There's a change with the season, the change with the time of the day. During the monsoon time and winter time, the merchant rates generally come down. And during summer, and the early summer season and parts of winter, the rates tend to go up. But generally the rates have been this year fluctuating anywhere between 2 rupees to 350. But as summer wears on, the rates generally tend to improve.
Okay. Well, Mr. Swaroop also said that PPAs will be reopened to factor in the lower coal cost. Any of yours?
Well, that we didn't have many PPAs, but we have few. So I think the whole issue has to be looked at. What are the terms of reference for review of the PPAs? So we'll wait for the a proper sort of a notice in this regard. So far, we have not received anything from the government.
Okay. So the total tariffs might not really go down if you look at what's actually happening, right, Mr. Uppal? Because the tariff reduction due to lower fuel costs can actually be made up by the companies by showing higher capacity costs. So in a sense, we don't expect the total tariffs to go down?
Well, Jindal, in our case, we go on a realistic basis. We do capacity charge using the components which are supposed to go in the capacity charge. And when it comes to the energy charge, it's basically the cost of fuel largely and the transportation cost. So we are not using one to subsidize the other. This is the reason why we quoted the rates which we thought were realistic rates.
Okay, one final word, Mr. Uppal. In case, just in case the government went in for rebidding of the blocks you already won, what will your reaction be? You will take them to court?
Well, I don't want to jump the gun. I think as of this moment, we are very optimistic. The government, right now we have a government which is so progressive and so responsible. I think they will take a very fair decision in this regard. End of the day, any capacity that we have is not only capacity of the company, it's a capacity of the nation. So therefore, I don't believe the government will take any such step whereby, the plants will be paralyzed in any way. And I have full faith in the fairness of the government's decision making.
All right, we leave it at that. Mr. Uppal, thank you very much for joining us with your today. Well, that's JSPL. Firstly, not heard from the government yet, and believing that it was a fair bidding process. Let's take a break, and then we have a very big discussion lined up. What is the status of the rural economy? How bad has the impact of the unseasonal rains been? We see some green shoots of rural wages fall, at least stopping, and some cases of rural wages increasing. All those discussions on the state of the rural economy with Ashok Gulati, the economist from ICRIER, Sameer Tandon, head national sales for tractors at Escorts, and Balram